Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zolotech, and I've been running iOS 11.2.1 on my iPhone 10 here on the right. It's my space gray iPhone 10. I've been using that, and I've also been using iOS 11.2.5 Beta 1 on the iPhone 8 Plus. Now, I haven't forgot about the older devices. In fact, I've got some here I wanted to take into consideration. This is a 7 Plus. We've got a 6 here, and also a 5S. And while I can't use all of these devices all of the time, all at once, to fairly test them, that's where I rely on you a little bit. And I commented on Twitter and asked for your response. So on Twitter, many of you responded, 94 of you responded actually, and I've read every single response. I said, which are you on and how has it been? And for me, before we go into these responses, for me, it's actually been incredibly stable for both. I've been using 11.2.1, like I said, on the iPhone 10, and I haven't had a single problem. So some people did say that it's been a little bit slow at times, but I haven't had any hiccups whatsoever. Things have been really fast and responsive. I haven't had any issues with that. Everything just seems to be flying along. Some people, though, for some reason, were having some slowdowns, and they were saying this doesn't feel like it's using the real power of the A11 Bionic chip. So for some reason, some people are having some slowdowns. Other people said that it's been really stable, but there's been some battery issues on the iPhone 10. Now, with the 8 Plus, with the beta, most people have said the same thing, that it's been stable. It's been some of the best betas that they've seen as far as the release. It's not as good as 10.3.3, but for the most part, it's really good. Some other people were having some bugs, though, where it was freezing and locking up when you're going into the tasks, the multitasking and things like that. I haven't experienced that on the beta, but maybe that's because it's a newer device. And when we're talking about the iPhone 7 Plus, this is actually not on the beta, but the iPhone 7 Plus, many of you said that it was good as well. So what we're seeing here is with the 7, 8, and 10, we're not having many issues. So for the people using these phones, we don't see many issues. It seems like the older generation phones from the 5S and newer are having all sorts of issues, and most of those issues have to do with the battery. So most of you are saying that battery on the older devices is basically not very good at all. Some people were saying that they were only getting 2 hours of battery. Now that may be because they have a bad battery, it's hard to say, or it might be just because the beta or the public release is that bad. Now for the public release, most people said the same thing. Basically, it seems like the public release and the new beta are similar as far as battery and everything else goes. So if we're talking about those devices, many of you have said, for example, 11.2.1 on a 7 Plus, it's been pretty good, no issues yet. If I scroll down here, most people on the SE, battery life is decent. Some people are saying it's not as good as it used to be. Some say it's not good at all. So 11.2.1 on the iPhone 6, battery draining fast, very disappointed. So I read through every single one of these comments, and basically it seems like 7 and 7 Plus and newer are fine for the most part, except for those few things I mentioned on the 10. But with the older devices, most people are saying they're having all sorts of issues with battery. And that usually seems to be the main thing. Other people were saying that there was some freezing going on after 3 or 4 days of use. They were also experiencing that as well. So Beta 1, iPhone 6s, touch seems to be buggy, sometimes delayed response, and also sometimes hangs on the active screen and turns unresponsive. So I really appreciate all of these different replies. Like I said, I read every single one of them because I can't possibly use all 5 of these devices all day long and give you an accurate response as far as what's going on. So I'll continue to ask you on Twitter as far as that goes. Now, with these 2 devices, I can use these all day, and like I said, I'm getting pretty decent results. I haven't had any freezing or anything else. Some people were having issues with the Facebook app, and I haven't had issues with that draining a whole lot of battery, but if you are, that's something Facebook's probably going to have to use, and they're notorious for having apps that drain battery. But that seems to be it for this particular update and the beta. So far, so good compared to previous versions of iOS 11, but if we're talking about iOS 10 and you're still thinking of making that jump to the newer version, you may want to hold off, especially since you can't go back if you don't like it. So if you're on 10.3.3 on maybe a 5S or a 6S, you may want to stay on that version. And I'll be doing a comparison between the older versions and the newer versions pretty soon. I have a device that's on iOS 9, and 10 and 11. So we'll take a look at that in the future. Let me know your thoughts, though, again, in the comments below. I appreciate all of your responses. Thanks again to Hafed Marzouk for sending along these wallpapers. I'll link them in the description below. If you want to send those to me, please send them either via email or through Twitter. I always take a look at them, and if I use them, I'll give you a shout out. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe and like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.